This episode is brought to you by PwC. When unprecedented times are all the time, it's time to start walking the talk. Leaders like you turn to PwC to see and stay ahead. Upskill your workforce, use intelligent automation, and transform big ideas into breakthrough reinvention. Explore the human-led tech-powered solutions that help you reinvent. It's all part of the new equation. Learn more at pwc.com.
Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5. At the 2. At the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread!
I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what's going on, everybody? This is a bonus show. I mean, this is the only podcast that breaks you out 3, 4, maybe even sometimes 5 shows a week. We got a fantasy show on Monday. We got Detroit Lions on the Detroit Koolaid Cast with Grifka on Wednesday and Friday. I'm here bringing you a bonus show, bringing in one of my other buddies, a longtime buddy of mine. We jumped on a softball team back in the day, absolutely killed it in the outfield. Nothing hit the ground when me and this guy were out there. He's a big sports fan across the board. And I said, hey, man, you need to jump on the podcast sometime. We talk some Lions football. He's a big Michigan fan, too. Who knows what we might talk about on this show. We're going to bring the energy. We're going to have a bunch of fun. This is my buddy Stefan, to all the Detroit Kool-Aid drinkers out there. Stefan, you're on the podcast, man. You're in the house. What the heck's going on, buddy?
I'm in the house, man. It's about time. We've been talking about it for a while, finally getting this thing going. So excited to talk Lions. I feel like this week's going to be a little bit of a therapy session for me. You know, some tough losses, some tough injuries, but hey, ready to get it going, man.
Absolutely, man. I'm super happy to have you. We're just two buddies talking sports. We'll have a bunch of fun here on the show and give the people some fun things to talk about because, like I say, I want this show to be a little different than our normal shows. We're going to talk about some kind of hot topics, some hot takes on some things that are going on with this team. So let's just not mess around. We don't mess around on the show. Let's talk TJ Hockenson, the number 8 overall pick, a tight end who everybody banged on. You can't take a tight end that high. You know, Bob Quinn, all these people love this guy. He can catch, he can block. He's a meat and potatoes. He loves football, all this stuff. You know, I was a guy that is quoted on this show of saying, Grifka, they're not going to take TJ Hockenson at number 8. Are you kidding me? But then as the draft went and they turned that card in, of course, I'm like, oh man, Hockenson, he brings a lot to the table. He's a really solid football player. Would I have taken other people? Yes, I would. But of course, every week I bang on Grifka because I think Hockenson's a really good player. But I'm here today to bring this up to you because I went on Twitter and had some issues with TJ Hockenson. I feel like this guy is midway through a year now, and I got after him for his fire, and I just can't figure out what this guy's ceiling is. I mean, is he going to be a dominant tight end? I mean, what kind of stats is he going to put up? Like, is this guy going to be a Travis Kelce type, or is he going to be a middle-of-the-road player? Threw a lot at you there, man. What are your thoughts on Hockenson, as well as just what do you think he can be? I mean,
yeah, I'm excited, man. I am excited. I think he has the possibility of being like a Gronk Jr. You know, he has the build, the skill set. He's got that mentality. But like you said, I haven't seen the fire. It worries me. You know, good old Iowa boy. Don't know if he has a little bit of that fire I want to see out of him. But the signs are there for a bright future. I'm looking at the red zone. He's got me worried. He's had another big drop this week against the Bears. You said too, he's a top 10 pick. So you're almost setting a guy up for failure, right? So how much can you really, realistically speaking, expect from a guy like that? Unfortunately, I would have picked him probably top 20. We would have a different conversation right now. The fact that he is the 8th pick, it's a bummer. You know, he hasn't lived up to expectations. He came out of the gate looking like he is going to be the next Gronkowski. I was more than excited. I was geeked, man. I was thinking we're going to blow Arizona out. We're going to get off to a hot start. And kind of like the season, he's tailed off. The team's tailed off. And here we are. But I do like his upside. I think it's always tough for a year one tight end. He's shown signs. And I am still very excited about what he has to bring going into year 2 and 3. But as of right now, it's to be continued, you know?
Yeah, man, I like that optimism as well as, like, I'm not quitting on this guy by any means. I was sort of like just wanting to almost light a fire, check with the fan base and say, like, what are you guys thinking? Because, like, for me, I see him out there. He's just he goes through the motions and people are like, oh, it's because he's so smooth at everything. I'm like, okay, I hope so. Everything he's caught is basically a pass I could catch, you know, a wide open crossing route where he catches and runs up the field until somebody tackles him. I mean, that doesn't really take a tremendous amount of ability. He, like you said, he has dropped the ball in the end zone versus Green Bay, and I think he's got at least 2-3 other kind of crucial drops, either be a seam route or another jump ball touchdown that I recall. And it's like, those are the type of plays I need him to make against people. I need him to hawk people and just jump over them, run through them, do special things, because, like, everybody's like, oh, it takes a tight end a long time. A tight end's a hard position to learn. It's like, we took you 8, man. You not only need to be special, but if you're not special in year 1, then you just need to have that huge leap, because I can't have Hockenson playing the way he is, getting like 30, 40 yards, no TDs, barely being used when we use that kind of asset on him, no matter how good of a guy he is, or how, you know, again, he hasn't even been really used in the blocking game either. People are like, oh, well, he wasn't really as good of a blocker as he was made out to be. It's like, I just haven't seen much in that area at all. I can't remember one block this year where they really highlighted him, other than maybe, I think he took somebody out on a carry-on screen, which was okay, but it's not like he buried him or anything. So,
I hear what you're saying, man. I hear, like, I mean, obviously there's some things out of his control. Like how we're using them. I think our tight ends in the past have been that Matthew Stafford security blanket, but Matt Stafford's getting some good protection. He's throwing the ball downfield. I guess I am confused. Why aren't we throwing TJ the ball down the field, down the seam? Is it something that we're missing? Is it, you know, is he not showing the signs in practice? Is he not living up to expectations? I mean, I hope that's not the case, but I have to go off what I'm seeing on the field, and unfortunately, as of right now, it's a little bit of a letdown. I think, again, he has all of the upside in the world, but right now in a season like this going forward, especially with a backup QB, probably, you know, for at least for a couple games, at least I hope. I mean, hopefully he might turn into that security blanket. I mean, Driscoll was tossing him the rock the last drive of the game, got a couple of big catches. That was the first time I heard his name, and I don't know how long. So, I mean, at least some signs. We have, you know, he's halfway through his first season. I mean, is he gonna hit the ground running going forward? I sure as hell hope so. But I need to see more. I want to see him used more. Like you said, I don't know why we haven't thrown the ball his way more often, other than getting Kenny and Marvin downfield, which is awesome. But the red zone, man, this guy's a beast. He should be a beast. Just give him the ball, throw it up, let him go get it. But does he have that go-getter mentality? I haven't seen it yet, except in glimpses. But those glimpses, they got to become the norm, or else I'm going to start getting a little more pessimistic on this man.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's kind of like, you know, I'm not trying to jump the gun on it, but people are like, well, they need to use them more. I'm like, they do need to use them more. And then they're like, and then I'm like, I don't think these coaches are seeing him tear it up every week and demand the football, and then on Sundays just going to every other player. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
There is something to say. If you have that mentality, give me the ball. You know, I mean,
right.
People that shows. The quarterback special. He's gonna find a way to get you the ball, especially a gunslinger like Stafford. If you're out there, man, just making your presence felt, Stafford's gonna beat that ball.
Part of it, though, is like that probably a little bit comes with time. You know, you come in, you're the humble guy, you're the work hard guy, you earn everybody's respect, and then maybe you get a little more wild. Because I told a couple people, I was like, you go and watch this film. this guy had some wild moments where he'd make a catch, he's up going nuts after it, he's like whooping up the crowd. It's like, that's part of what I thought I was getting, as well as if you go back and watch his tape, he's putting his hands on people and driving them 5-6 yards off the ball into the ground with some of these blocks. And like, okay, yeah, the NFL players are better, but there hasn't been one block on the edge where I've seen him get his hands on somebody and actually kind of control them and take them somewhere. I mean, yeah, he gets in the way. He, after since the concussion, he's sort of been timid, and people are like, oh, he's worried after the concussion. It's like, well, you got to learn to deal with injuries in the NFL. This ain't going to be the first or the last one that he gets. So let's do this. We got to keep this show moving. I need 3 things from you on TJ Hockenson. I need a player comparison. You know, we got the Kelseys of the world. We got some of these other guys that can catch. Is there a player or a player type that you think this guy can end up being, let's say 2-3 years down the road?
I mean, I know I mentioned it, but I don't want to say the poor man's version of Gronkowski, but I mean, he's got the build and the skill set, I think, to be our version of that. I mean, again, we're the Detroit Patriots. He's got to be our version of Gronk. He's got to be that, like, give me the ball. Like you said, get the crowd whooped up. Like, just show some energy. And, I mean, that's who I want him to be. The glimpses are there, but, I mean, that's my hope. That's where I see we need him going, man. If not...
Stefan, I got to stop you, man. This is where you show you're a rookie on the podcast. Like, this is the media, the fan base that was calling him, you know, Gronkowski for the Lions. He's not as big and as physical. What I've seen from him, especially since I've seen him play now in the league, to me, he's much more of that kind of smooth route runner, that guy that kind of just knows how to get open. He can run a little bit after the catch. So to me, he's more like this Kelsey, Hunter Henry type. Some of these tight ends who are, yeah, they're 6'4", 6'5", with some good weight on them, but they just kind of maneuver through the defense, catch it and go. Gronkowski was a different breed with his physicality. He could still run a little bit back in his earlier years, and he would just, a lot of times they just use him and he would just get it done from a blocking perspective. So I think Hawkins is a little bit different now that I see him in person and see him in a Lions uniform.
He's young. I mean, I don't want to cut you off, but the guy's got time to build that NFL body. Like I said, we've seen signs that he has the energy, that killer instinct. But I mean, of course, I mean, you compare anybody to Gronkowski, you're going to be, bringing in questions. You're going to bring in lofty expectations. But I mean, I think Kelsey is a more dynamic, explosive type player. When I look at him, I always thought of Gronk as more of that meat potatoes kind of guy. So maybe, it's been a while since I saw Gronk at his, his highlight reel or something. I got to replay some YouTube clips to get me re-immersed. But I guess
watch the tape, bro.
Bruh.
So let me ask you this. Just throughout, we and Grifka had a big old argument because Grifka, well, what's his stats going to be, Okri? I said, if he helps us win, I don't care. Well, what do you mean you don't care? Like, he was picked number 8. So this season, here we are having a struggling year, and he just hasn't really produced. Probably, I think he's at 300 some yards, couple touchdowns, In a perfect world, not this year. I put him at 600 yards and around 7 to 10 touchdowns. What I had him at before the year. Let's say year 2. Like, what kind of stats, Stefan? What do you think he's can put up that would justify him as a player? And like I say, doing other things to help us win ball games. So it's not so much just about numbers, but give me a couple, like, what do you think his ceiling is for yards? Maybe can he get double-digit TDs in year 2 or 3?
Well, I think the fact that we've struggled so much in the end zone, the red zone rather, 10 touchdowns should not be an issue. I mean, that's what we need this guy.
It's a lot. It's a lot for like a 10 for a tight end, but like you say, if you use them,
we've gotten to the red zone a lot this year. We've got a lot of field goals. I mean, those are TJ Hockenson. That's his time to turn up. And then I want to see the energy again, get that mentality. Give me the ball. We are 5 yards from the end zone. Chuck it up. I'm going to go get it. Might not be the most explosive guy. I might not blow up the huge block. I'm going to do my job, and come the red zone, he needs to come alive. And so 10 touchdowns with how much we've been in the red zone this year and 800 yards. I don't see why he can't be that even year two. Get him and Stafford some consistency, get them on the same page. I mean, it has to happen. I mean, and it should happen. I mean, that's my take. I think 10 touchdowns, 800 yards is where we need this guy and what he should be for us.
Yeah. Those are both, pretty high bars for a tight end, but also, like I said, if he's used and he almost needs one or two of those to come through, or if not both, because, where they took him, as well as, a lot of guys force feed their skill players. So depending on what happens with Marv down the road, I mean, Hawk, you basically invested in him to be one of your top skill players. So can this guy be a star? Can this guy be a star in your opinion?
Yeah, it's because Amendola isn't getting any younger. Like I said, we don't know what the future holds for Marvin. I mean, I think he's going to be the 1A or the 1B to Galladay's 1A. And that's not a bad thing to have. Like I said, he's going to get better at the blocking. He's going to fill out, and then he's going to be able to slip out of the backfield when we get a little bit of a healthy running back. And I just see him heading down that seam and making big 20, 25-yard plays.
Yeah. Well, I sure hope so. Like I said, I'm a little bit TBD on what his ceiling is. I feel like he has looked smooth. He has looked the part when it comes to, given the opportunities, the way they've schemed him open, but I haven't seen that play. He had one against Chicago. I think it was probably his only catch where he caught it, looked like a 5-yard route, and he bumbled and rumbled through a few people, and it got like 20 some yards on the play. I mean, if he starts doing that more often, I'm like, oh, okay. That's a play you make by yourself, not just some wide open catch you run up field.
Yeah. I mean, Driscoll found him, I think, 2 back-to-back plays down the stretch. We were obviously going for that game tying drive. We need to see more, and it needs to happen at a higher pace earlier in the game. Give the defense something to think about, because it's almost like they forgot about him, and then Driscoll decided to use him. So what's going to happen? Yeah, when he is a known commodity. I'm worried. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to hype myself up almost probably as much as anything else, but I gotta believe, he was going to be taken top 10 regardless. I mean, other teams showed interest. I mean, we weren't the only ones out there putting him top 10 on the board. So it's not like a same old Lions they reached. I mean, other teams were going for this guy. So I have to think that was.
I think so, but it definitely was a outside the box type pick. When it comes to that position, as well as. Again, he's got to be able to. It's basically just usage at this point for me. Like, freaking use the guy. The guy went for 130 and 2 in game 1, and then he's been just a ball here or there the rest of the year. I mean, I think his next high is probably 50 yards. It's like, I don't need him to score 2 TDs and 100 yards by any means, but I need him being like featured where one game he gets 80, 90 yards, the next game he gets 40. Like, I don't want him disappearing, especially for a while. I was kind of like, all right, he'll have a few down weeks, and then he'll pop up and be big. Every week in my articles I put TJ Hockenson would probably blow up, and I stopped doing that now because it's 6 weeks down the road and I haven't seen it. It's like, come on, man. So I still really like the player. It's just like, let's get it done.
I know, because you're the fantasy guy. So the guy, Devin Bush, got picked right after him, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think our team looks like if we pick Devin Bush instead of, and then round 2 we go tight end? We switch those, position groups.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fun to think about, but.
Yeah, I think it's Monday morning quarterback, because I think Devin Bush went 10, Hockenson, right at that 8th pick. So, yeah, only a couple picks later. But where did he go? He went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a great culture, needed a middle linebacker, threw him right out there. He's just running and hitting, doing the things he's good at. They're not putting him in the spot to kind of, be a liability. Would he have helped the Lions? I mean, it depends how they use them, and they don't like those little linebackers. So it's kind of just like people taking one guy from one team saying like, oh, imagine, imagine Tom Brady on the Lions. It's like, well, who knows if that story goes the same with the same supporting cast, the organization at that point. You can't really just plop somebody in and say, oh, look what he would have done. I mean, that's easy to do after the fact. But, like I say, this isn't a bang on TJ Hockenson. This is me calling him out and people on Twitter sort of backing him up. Other people saying, like, yeah, he needs to be tougher. He needs to get the ball more. And I just think it's a big, hot button we had to bring up. So we got to keep this thing moving, man. We'll never get on another topic. And this next one I want to talk about, Bruh. Okay, we're sitting here, my buddy Grifka, doom and gloom, when nothing's going right. A lot of the Lions fan base, thinks, why win, tank the season, get the draft pick? So this is kind of a two-part question. Like, what does this team need in regards to either position or maybe even from a leadership perspective? And then I'm going to tackle that first. What do you think they need either from a player or just for the organization to get over the hump here?
I mean, we need a running back to stay healthy. I mean, God, I love Kerryon. It hurts me to say, but man, we need a healthy running back. We need consistency. I mean, we got how many running backs in a row have just gotten injury concerns? I mean, Reggie Bush, always out with injury. Dude from what was the speedster we got? They had
Job Best.
Job Best. Thank you. I mean,
help me! Help me!
So I think running back is a huge concern once again. At the very least, depth. I mean, we need a 1-2 punch. I don't know what Ty Johnson is going to bring. I thought he was just going to be that third down screen kind of change of pace type of guy, but either way, we need an every down running back. We need a quarterback for the future. I mean, let's be real. If it's a top 5 pick and he's going to start next year, or if it's a second round pick where we're grooming him for 3 years, we have to start planning for that now. And we need depth in the secondary. I mean, I know we were just tossing guys away like Diggs, like they were, growing on trees, but how do you do that without more depth? So I want some explosiveness out of the secondary, and I need a healthy running back. So I'll put quarterback of the future third, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because the main thing I put on my list, which isn't, for all the draft experts you find on Twitter, all these people that think they got the NFL all figured out, like the number one thing with a bullet that I have on my list is a freaking running back. I'm so annoyed. Like, as much as I love Kerryon Johnson, sort of as you hinted at, and he's on a lot of my fantasy teams, I think he's still a good player, even though everybody thinks he's just a fragile, injury-prone player now. Like, can we not just go spend a high asset, whether it be in the draft or in free agency, and get a stud running back and put this to bed? I mean, I feel like we've been trying to piece it together since 20 walked off the field. And I'm sitting here going, okay, maybe for 5, even 10 years, that was fine. We're at like 20 plus years now. It's like you might want to go get somebody that's actually a beast and can actually carry it more than 10 times a game, or these little scat backs you keep getting. Like, let's go pound people. Let's go get Jonathan Taylor and pound people and put him with Kerryon. Let's go get a back in free agency that's the top guy and pay them. You could have went out and probably got Le'Veon Bell at a big discount and said, hey, okay, running back is fixed. Let's move on to the next thing.
Bring my man home, dude. He doesn't want to be in New York. Get this man back to Michigan.
Exactly. But instead, like I say, all the people on Twitter, Okri, you got to wait till the mid rounds. That's the value. And that's usually what I'm yelling at Grifka about, is like, you have to know where value's at, how you draft. But everyone's so lost in the fact that you can only. How good does
Dallas look when Zeke's playing well?
I mean, exactly. And where they take Zeke, top 5.
What's my man from Minnesota? He looks healthy. God, they're a new team.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that. Goodness. They did get the Lions passed on Dalvin Cook twice, and everybody knew he was a stud. So it's like they overthought it, and they thought, oh, no, we'll get a guy in the 5th round. It's like, no, a guy was staring you in the face in the 2nd, or people are like, oh, you can never take a running back in the 1st round. It's like, let's go down the list of the ones that have been taken that are good. Zeke, Leonard Fournette, Saquon Barkley. Should I
Dude.
continue? There's
Right.
probably like 5-6 other guys that were all taken between 20 and 1 and have been great players for those teams. And instead we're like, oh no, we're going to find a gem in the 4th, 5th round. Yeah, okay. If that would have worked out for you like before, I would be fine with it. But we're going on 2 decades. It hasn't worked. So please go get me a running back somehow, some way, so I don't have to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, you got me fired up, man. I agree.
And then you also hit on cornerback. Like, here's the other thing with corner. So when Jim Schwartz was here, he would never take corners because he'd always say, oh, they're the most hurt position. They're this, they're that. It's like, you never took one above probably like I think probably 3rd, 4th round was probably the only time he brought in all these bum washed up corners. It's like, okay, you threw a dart at a wall. You got lucky by getting Darius Slay in the top of the 2nd round. Like, we took Darius Slay in probably 2011, 2012, somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm. Like, it's 2019, and we have not even attempted to pair him with another upper echelon type player. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, well, you can't really invest in 2 corners. It's like, again, let's go look at the good teams. Like, it's a passing league, right? So if it's a passing league, you probably need corners, and instead we think we can get away with Slay and, a bunch of bums off the street. And now we're investing in safeties, which I'm fine with safeties, but give me another guy that can cover a wide receiver, please.
Justin Coleman looks good. I mean, he better though with that money we spent on him. But I mean, especially we're rushing 3. We're not getting quarterback pressure. So yeah, pass happy league. Yeah, you can't have enough depth in the secondary. So yeah, it's frustrating.
And when you get Coleman, so now it's like you got Coleman, yeah, you paid him a bunch. You got Slay, you're paying him a bunch. That's why if we're picking, let's say at 10 to 15, if a really good corner is there, you take him. He still makes no money because he's a drafted rookie. You put him and Slay on the outsides, and you feel pretty good about that. You got Coleman in the slot, and you still got Tracy Walker, Harris, all these other guys that can ball hawk and run around. Now we got a secondary. Instead, now it's like every team comes into the week and just says, oh, we'll just never throw at Slay, and we'll just dice up the other guy, which Melvin's been decent, but I bet you if they got another corner that could hold his water over there, like, our defense would look a lot different, because you can't have studs at every position, but you also can't avoid corners and think you're just going to fall into one, because they're too valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah, we don't want to kind of waste another, like, waste talent. We want to pair it up finally. How long do we waste Barry and Herman Moore? How long have we wasted Stafford? How long are we going to waste people like Slay? So, yeah, I agree. Let's.
And my thing is, like, if Slay goes, like, they're saying, oh, they'll trade him in the offseason, or he's getting frustrated. Imagine if he's gone. Like Coleman's a slot player. You got nothing out there. Like, you got no young guys, nobody with really any upside. The one guy they took this year hasn't even seen the field, AO. It's like, I don't think they have, like you said, kind of any of the depth that we had hoped at that position. I feel like other spots we're building some depth and kind of have some sneaky talent, not only starting but behind them, but not in the corner. I mean, if when Darius Slay has gone down with his hamstring, good luck guarding people. Right. It's been ugly.
I mean, I do think the secondary would look better if our D-line had been healthy. I'm eager to see what a healthy D-line and some consistency with Mike Daniels, with Trey Flowers, with Snacks. Again, also groin injury, but still, let's get some continuity, some health out of our front 4, and put some pressure off of our secondary. So, I mean, I know they kind of go hand in hand, but we got to commit to one or the other. We can't just kind of half our way through both of them. So.
Yeah. So it's crazy, man. We both have the same 2 spots. I mean, I think that's what the team needs to get over the hump. A big time running back as well as a top corner while you have Slay around. I don't want you to get rid of Slay and then we'll get me a top corner, because we'd be at the same point we are now. Right. Need to pair them up. And like I say, I like Justin Coleman. I like our safeties. And yeah, everyone says pass rusher, all these other things you can come up with. Like, to me, those are kind of the 2. And they're also 2 that are off the radar, because you'll have people tell you can just find running backs anywhere. And, every team has one good corner and one's, that's just serviceable. And it's like, I don't think so when you really start breaking it down. A lot of the teams that are winning have these these beasts of these running backs that catch it, run it, score touchdowns, and we haven't had one in 2 decades. So let me combo that question, kind of finish this out here on this portion of the show. The record is not where we want it. We got injuries still at crucial spots, especially the quarterback and running back. How are we going to drink that Detroit Kool-Aid the rest of the year? I mean, every time on the podcast, we're letting them people we're pouring them a big glass, Detroit Kool-Aid.
Drink it in, man.
And serving up that cornbread also.
Cornbread.
And how are you going to do that? Like, how are you going to stay connected to this team? A lot of people are quitting on them, just saying, I'll see you next year, maybe. I mean, what are you looking forward to? It might be a player. It might be, a certain, thing you want to see from the squad to kind of finish out the year to not only keep you in, but get you excited for 2020.
I touched on it briefly. I don't think I'm cleaning at straws either. I really think, getting Daniels back, getting Snacks and Trey all in the field together with an actual meaningful length of time, we're going to live up to expectations. Coming in this season, everyone's, okay, top 5 D-line, we're good. That's going to be the strong point of the team. Okay, well, we haven't been remotely healthy. I don't know. I can't remember. Have we been healthy yet all year? But so I'm eager to see if we keep those guys together on the field. Ashawn, let Jared Davis be a little bit more of a free-flowing guy. Let him, come after the quarterbacks and the running backs out of the backfield, because we know he can't cover. So let him just go make plays. So that's something I expect to see. I need to see it. And it'll be fun to watch, again, what type of balance that brings to the defense when we're getting a little bit of pressure on the quarterback with a steady D-line. So obviously I want to see that, not to harp too much on Hockenson, but he's got to make strides. I think he's going to just continue to get more comfortable. I don't want to make excuses, but you did say the concussion, he's a rookie. He's finding his way in the league. I expect, especially with Driscoll, I think we're going to see more out of Hockenson. We're going to see more of the D-line. And I'll be happy with that because it shows growth. I actually like the improvements I've seen out of Matt Patricia from year 1 to year 2. I mean, how much of a mess was everybody saying he was year 1? He's in over his head. Oh my God, this is the worst decision the Lions have ever made. You know what? Hey, give the guy a little bit of time. I like this, the progress he's already made. I think he's just going to get more comfortable. He's going to, figure things out himself even more. I don't blow anything up. Let's keep building off what we've established, and let's go get some playmakers in the offseason.
Yeah, man, Stefan, I'm there with you on a lot of those ones you mentioned. I mean, for me, it comes down to that defense, like finding an identity. Like, to me, they've just been, scattershot where, sometimes they scheme up a game plan that somewhat works, but then they fall short either on offense or defense and lose. Sometimes, they've had some flashes where Coleman's looking great covering people, Slay's wagging the finger, and then there's other days where they're just Swiss cheese back there. My favorite thing on the defense is T-Walk, man. Tracy Walker, my guy, put on the 21, which is my favorite number, and he's got those, 3-foot long arms. He waggles them, comes up and guards tight ends, freaking just has that swagger about him. I think since they've lost him, they have him the last couple games, it may be a different story, but he's been out with that knee, and I think that's a big thing. I know a lot of people still don't really recognize Tracy Walker as a ball hawk and a real top, safety type talent, but I think he's really going to come on the scene similar to how Kenny has, where Kenny Golladay was sort of a physical beast when you saw him. He made a few plays his rookie year. He grew in year 2, and here we are seeing him, really become a top flight receiver. And I also think Golladay is, he really just seems sort of like a special talent. Like, I know he's not going to run away from you. I know he's not, as dynamic as some other receivers may be, but his body build, the way he goes up against the football, the way that you can throw it to him deep, short, intermediate. I feel like I want to keep my eye on Golladay and just see if he continues to grow into that dead set. People come play the Lions. They know they got to deal with 19. He's the go-to guy. I want to see them throwing the rock to him like I used to see it to Andre Johnson and these other top receivers, where you come in knowing he ain't getting any less than about 12 balls thrown his way on a bad day. 18 if they want to turn up the juice. That's what I think we need to see from him. That way they can just pay him and say, you're our guy for the next 5-6 years, our top flight receiver, build around him offensively. And same with Tracy Walker. Like I say, I think you're going to almost build that defense from the D line as well as a guy like him on the back end, and then fill in the middle and fill in the outsides around that, because you still got some talent on that D line, and Matt Patricia, if he adds a few more pieces, should be able to scheme it up as well as, like you said, I mean, barely year 1.5 right now for him. I mean, the guy's learning the job. He brings a winning pedigree. Like, let's give him some more time and let's say, hey, okay, like, it wasn't an issue anyway when he came in and was yelling at people, telling them to run laps. We should have had that about a decade ago. It just shocked the system, and now, like, everybody's used to it, and he's building on top of it, and people are like, where's the results? They keep losing. Well, maybe the roster isn't where we thought it is. Maybe the injuries have been at really tough spots. I was telling a buddy the other day, the worst part about the injuries this year, like, no – other than carry on, they haven't been like catastrophic, but they've been like this guy missing 3 weeks, this guy out in a really crucial game, 2 guys out that we really need, that's cost us a loss, either in Chicago or a couple of these other games. So I think I'm going to just hang my hat on Tracy Walker, Golladay. What's the identity of this defense? And like you said, can we get Matt Patricia a few more blue chip players so that instead of people banging on him for his record, they can say, oh, remember all those stuff he was building for 2 years? Now we actually got ball players that can do some things, and now it works all of a sudden. Imagine that. I feel like we're 2 to 3 players away when it comes to that. So
I think people have been overly critical of Quinn too, in his draft, but I mean, I'm not all that disappointed in the linebacker. My boy here.
Jelani Tavai.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was definitely a reach. I mean, probably should have been 3rd round, but again, he's playing a solid role in the team. It's like, so whatever. I'm not gonna get too much into it, but I don't think he's done as bad of a job as people have made it out to be. Again, there's a lot of negativity just as a Lions fan, just in general. But what is making some big, fire sale going to do except put us back here in 3-4 years, looking up at the same place, asking the same questions? We got to give them a chance, a real chance. Build the identity, and identities are not built overnight. So, I mean, it's boring to say, it's kind of cliche, but let's let these guys, get some time to grow. Let's build.
Yeah, because everybody's like, blow it up. And I'm just saying, like, okay, this season's been bad. We'll be lucky to win, 6-7 games, somewhere around there, I would say, on a good thing. Could they end up winning like 5 or so? I mean, it could happen. But I think that,
what do you think, conspiracy-wise, sitting Stafford, is that going to save some jobs? Hey, if feeling pressure, that's conspiracy there. Hey, it's okay to lose 10, 11 games because our franchise quarterback is out. I mean, but
yeah, that could happen. But I mean, like, I think what you have in him regardless. Like you say, it would be a little bit of an excuse. But my thing is just every year you're stacking on what you currently have. So like, if they end up with a bad record the past 2 years, like, you can blame coaching, blame all this stuff, but you can also say, like, they were continuing to build this roster, and people say, like, well, Jim Caldwell won. It's like, yeah, well, he had a different roster too than they're trying to build now, and also like
a seasoned NFL coach with the Super Bowl. I mean, so
right. And he had veterans when he came in that were ready to go, and some other things. So
9-7, 8-8, and
right.
So it's like, yeah, what do you expect? I mean, there's not going to be growth if we just keep on every 3-4 years on to the next. But
Exactly. I don't know what people think is going to happen good if you just broom everybody and start over. It's like, okay, maybe you could say, well, in 6 years we'll be a lot better for it. Well, those 5 years in between are going to suck. So I feel like, right now, just give them 2 to 3 more years, and even 2, like, is what most people would say is stretching it. So I'll say give them 2 more years, give them another big draft, if Matt Stafford's healthy, if they don't get over the hump and win a playoff game and multiple in that span, yeah, we got to move on to a new regime, but in that time, like, I think you would see a team go from middle of the pack right now in regards to talent to upper third. And then if Matt Stafford is healthy and is able to play the kind of football he's played this year, like, there's no reason you can't get over the hump and do some big things with another draft, another free agency, as well as some of these players coming into their own. Like Jelani Tavai, okay. I think he'll be better in year 2 and 3. I think that there's other players that we're going to get rid of and be able to plug in a better talent, which will increase the overall team. So Detroit Kool-Aid drinkers, people out there, it sounds like Stefan and me are both saying, like, you got to have patience. You got to hang in there, but we're not talking patience for wait another decade. We're saying another year or 2 so they can finish out what they're trying to build, get some guys healthy, get this scheme down, get this new culture rolling, and say, all right, now the Detroit Lions are something to deal with. Like, nobody likes what's happened this year, but there's definitely blue Kool-Aid on the horizon. I think we just got to hang in there. Now, Stefan, we got to get out of here, man. But before the show, you've been a good long buddy of mine. We love chatting sports. But every time I talk to you, you use about 10 bros. And so I told you I was going to use the sound effect.
Bruh.
And you didn't say one on purpose. So can you promise me next show that we do, you're going to throw some bros out for the people?
Bad. Yes.
Bruh.
We'll be good.
All right. Well, hey, man, let's close this up. It's been really fun to have you on the show. Really enjoy kind of talking football with you. There's a big Michigan game this week against Sparty. I want to get you going on that, but we know go blue. And we'll have to get back on here, maybe talk some other Detroit Kool-Aid and Michigan sports at some point. But it was fun talking Lions with you, man. Thanks for coming on. You're still a rookie in the game, but I think you can hang a little bit, so we'll see what you do.
We'll get it going, man. Stafford, go blue all day, every day.
All right, man. Take it easy, man. We'll talk to you again.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.